calories, right? That looks good. What are we doing? That looks good. Louis and I actually split out for dinner tonight. I brought my, and I'm going, dude, I'm just like hungry. I had like an intense workout today. I go, I think just sometimes when I work out really hard, not every day, but sometimes like when I'm on 500-600 calories and I work out really intense, it's just like, my body's just like craving like carbs and stuff. And I'm like, so I still ate clean, right, Lou?
Yep.
I still ate clean.
But you're trying to Serrano Chino
No, because I thought it probably had oil in it. So it was straight sriracha and soy sauce on the dried chicken without teriyaki at Lava Grill and the vegetables.
Oh.
Yeah. Teriyaki's got some sugar. Well, not even sugar. It's got corn syrup. It's garbage in it. So, huh? Teriyaki? Yeah, it's the sugar. Of course it's good, man. We're addicted to sugar. That's awesome. I won't be here Saturday. So, Alex, my son, has an official visit up at a school in Oregon. And they're flying him up there Friday morning, so I'm going to fly up with him Friday morning, Saturday. He and Michelle hit 5 schools up there this summer, and I didn't get a chance to. She's like, you ought to check it out. So, I'm going to go out there. Since we need to be making, like, for the quarter to hit our quarterly numbers. And so I wanted to talk through that. I just want to get some feedback from you guys on some different stuff, okay? So, pull up my notes. TV's on for me, thank you. Thank you. All right, I think one of Steve's announcements, I just wanted to make sure, just like as a, sometimes I just like to remind you guys of this. So I'll just do a quick reminder, because I know Steve was looking for this earlier from everybody. So we're halfway through the month, and we're at like, it's 15, 16, 1, 17, 1, 17, 9. So we're at about 21 grand through 4 cycles. Halfway through the month, we got 4 to go. So we're on pace to be sort of the mid-40s this month. So I just wanted to remind you guys, like, there's lots of money out there. There's lots of money for all of us to make. It's not just for me to make. There's lots of money for all of us to make. And the more that we grow individually, the more that we're ready to receive it. Like Sam Lynn once taught me a really valuable story. He just said, it's almost like you go outside and it's a downpour. How many of you, I know we're in California, have any of you ever seen a downpour?
Yes.
Maybe on TV or something like that, you saw one, right? So, one of us goes out there and goes, man, I gotta get all I can. Right? You're trying to capture all that you can. And somebody else has a cup. And somebody else has a bucket. Right? And somebody else gets like a trash can. And somebody else gets like a 55-gallon drum. Right? And then somebody else gets like a couple of silos. And the thunderstorm, the rain is coming down equally on all. But we're not all receiving it the same way.
True.
So we live in a time in our, not only our country's history, but I think the history of the world, where more people are making more money faster than ever before. Now, politicians like to create these economic divides. Well, the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting more, in this class warfare. We pit one class against the other, right? It's as if there's a limited amount out there, and by me having a lot, by definition, I'm causing you to only have a little, which is just insane. Like, I'm not going to preach you politics, but like the first thing that comes to mind is Bernie. The Democrats tonight are debating, right? And so Bernie Sanders, the past couple of weeks, has been ripping on Mike Bloomberg, right? I'm not endorsing either one of them, but politically, he's been railing. He's like, hey, this guy's trying to buy an election. We're not an oligarchy. We're a democracy. You know, he spent, I heard today that Bloomberg's already spent like $450 million on advertising. Just to put it in perspective, 2016, over the entire campaign, Hillary spent about $1.1 billion. So he spent almost half of what she spent over the whole campaign, and they're like 2 states into this deal. We got a long way to go. And Trump, over the entire election in 2016, spent like 600 million, 650, whatever it is. So he spent like 2/3 as much as Trump did the whole time, and like half of what Hillary did the whole time already. And so Sanders is like, oh, you can't buy an election, blah, 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 and that's evil, right? And that's bad, and we don't want to elect people like that. Now, the other side of the story is, why is Bloomberg worth so much money? How many tens of thousands of jobs has he created? How much value has he created in the marketplace? He didn't take anything from everybody. He created all this value in the marketplace. He created all these jobs. Like, he created so much value that that's what he received in return. Well, Bernie, on the other hand, has been a career politician. He's worth millions of dollars by being a politician. I don't know what he's created for people, but it's just a difference in perspective. So there's so much out there for us all to receive. We may want to receive silos and silos and silos, but sometimes we're going out there with just the cap off of a bottle and saying, I really want a whole bunch, but this is all that I'm able to receive. And so part of what I can talk about more in the second half is making ourselves open, opening ourselves to be a bigger retainer, a bigger receiver of all the blessings that we want in our life anyway. A lot of times the things that we want the most, when we think about them, there's fear, and there's anxiety, and there's a sense of scarcity, and we worry, and there's all of this negative emotion which we just know cause us to be more closed as individuals. And the more that we open up, the more that we're willing to receive. So before I get into that, I'm going to just talk a little bit about how many of you are still in, how many of you have, let me just say this, how many of you have participated in the Last Man Standing contest this month? I show hands. Feedback. What have you learned so far about yourself, good or bad? What have you learned about prospecting? What have you learned about yourself? What have you learned about habits? What have you learned about talking to people? What have you learned about anything? Gracie, you and I had a great conversation today about this. What have you learned?
I learned a couple things. I learned that I do better when I have a little fire under my butt, for one. So if there's something there, it propels me forward. Second, I learned that I'm a little bit better of a prospector than I thought I was. And my belief in myself, in this company, and in this work increases just a little bit more every time I'm able to get a new name and number and a new yes, and what a concept, you know. I went, I prospected, I called, and I had my first guest in weeks, you know, sitting in the next room. So it works. Thank you. That's what I learned.
Okay, I want to give it up for Gracie. This is going to be paramount to what I'm going to be talking about later. Gracie said she's better than I thought I was. Did the thought come from outsider or insider?
Inside.
So she created a thought that limited her ability to receive new prospects, new potential business partners, new clients. It wasn't based on anything. It was just a thought that originated inside of her. And then when she actually started doing this thing, what she realized was that thought isn't congruent with reality. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? And then she said that she's better with a little fire under her we'll be talking a great deal about bottoms later, so you don't want to miss that part of the training. Sean.
Yeah, I would say that it requires less effort than I thought, you know, or it's more effortless to make friends with someone, and then trying to like get their number or whatever. It's just if you're just out there making friends and talking to people, it's somewhat effortless.
You might not be there yet, but might you consider saying it's sort of natural?
Yeah, sure.
So, but we have these thoughts, because you said it's right.
Yeah.
It takes less effort than I thought, but we have these thoughts that place artificial limitations on us, which makes it seem more difficult and less natural. And as we remove those barriers, it's not really about learning something new. It's really about removing the barriers that we created. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Thank you guys. All good. So,
It's less effort than I thought. Would you guys please give it up for Kritzia? Kritzia just volunteered to do the markers for me. So she's got better handwriting than me to keep things going fast. See how I just like remove those barriers? Sammy smiles.
Yes. I think you helped me and gave me some good feedback.
I get one of the best prospectors in the office in the hierarchy. I get okay. Great.
Yeah, and you
This
gave me
will
some good
be
feedback.
interesting.
And that thing is that yes, I'm doing it. However, now like I gotta like look up. Like that's a cool for you and I. Like look up.
Because we're short.
Exactly. We're all short. So
Stop
yeah,
recruiting
look
short
up.
people.
We get a better like higher identity and things like that because the foundation is there now.
Yes.
Now there's leverage. That was one of the by far best thing I got from you.
Gracie, you shared with me something related to that today. You just put prospect top.
Yeah, I was the very first day, after Area Way, I went to the grocery store to prospect. That was my purpose. And it was still early on in the prospecting practice. And so I was very rusty and I wasn't very good at it. And there was this woman who had great calm energy and she smiled, good eye contact, she was friendly. We got to talking about coffee and turns out she's a speech pathologist and I couldn't get myself to go to the next step and say, are you keeping your career options open? Would you be willing to look into something else? You know, may I have your number? So I started talking about my friend's son who needs some speech work. And I managed to get her phone number that way. And so we exchanged phone numbers and we talked a couple times via text because it was a legitimate reason, but I still couldn't get myself to say, by the way. And because in my mind, we talked about what a great job she has, how she likes doing what she does, and I just felt like, oh, she wouldn't be interested because she wouldn't be interested.
So, public service announcement, PSA. For all the single ladies out there, if a fella asks for your phone number, but not because he's interested in you, but for some other reason, like, he knows somebody that can walk your dog for you, or something else that came up in the conversation, it's 100% because he wants your number. It's 100% because he wants to go out with you, no matter what you think it is in the moment. That's what Gracie just demonstrated for us, right? Like, she really wanted her number to prospect her, but she got her number through some other sort of backdoor means, right? Dudes do that all the time when they get nervous too, right?
That's true.
They do, yeah, I know. I never did, but one of the guys I know struggled with that, right? You want to know why I never did? So when I first got promoted into sales management at AT&T, this is going to sound horrible, but it's a true story and it's funny. But my general manager who promoted me, I was hiring a brand new team of people. So all new salespeople. And he told me, he said, hire ugly people. I said, why? He goes, they're used to being told no all the time. He's like, they work harder. He's like, pretty people, when they hear no, they freak out. They're like, no! So, that's why I knew I had troubles asking for numbers for the right reasons, because I was like, yeah, I'm just used to getting no's, right? Now, I didn't follow Paul's advice 100% because I did hire my wife, right? I don't think she fits his expectations very well. So here's a homework assignment for 3 of you, because I'm going to give it to all of you, but I know only 3 of you will do this. It's complicated and involves Google, okay? So I want you to Google this. Google it 3 or 4 different times. Just change the words and see what pops up. Top reasons for job dissatisfaction. Top reasons for job dissatisfaction. What % of employees are happy or satisfied with their jobs? Just 2 or 3 or 4 different versions of that. Here's what you'll find. What I've found every time I've done it, somewhere between 80 to 85% of employees are not satisfied. 80 to 85%, even speech pathologists, like the one Gracie was talking about, even like corporate executives, like I was, right? Even nurses, even all kinds of professionals. Why? Because they got a bad boss. And no matter how much they love their career, you can't enjoy your job if you got a bad boss. Or they got a good boss, but they feel like the environment itself, the culture, they don't feel like they have a voice in making things better. They feel like they're just being told what to do, and so there's no sense of autonomy, and they don't have a voice in things. They feel like they're not appreciated or recognized for any of their efforts. They feel like there's no sense of collaboration or teamwork. They don't feel like they're fairly compensated for their work. They don't feel like there's an opportunity for advancement. They feel like somebody's playing games, whether it's, what do you call that when it's a family deal and they're promoting people? Nepotism or favoritism. There's all these reasons. And I was using the example with Gracie. I was like, so the person could really like the nature of their job. I'm a speech pathologist. I like it. I like what I'm able to do for my patients or clients. I like the people that I'm working with. I feel like I get paid pretty good. But my boss is an absolute jerk, idiot, dipstick, fill in the blank. If that's you, you can't separate the boss out of the job. Sure. It's like, well, my husband's really good with the kids, and he's a great provider, and he really does a good job around the house helping out, and he's charming, but he cheats on me. You can't really separate that out. It's like, no, I don't like him because that's part of the whole deal, right? The same is true with work. What you'll find is 4 out of 5 people aren't happy with where they're working. Sure. So it doesn't matter. Imagine this. I would have been a pretty good recruit for you. But most people wouldn't look at me as a recruit because, well, whatever, fill in the blank. Or he'd be a really good client and they make a sale off of me but miss the big time opportunity, right? So just be aware of that. What I talked to Sammy about was prospecting up. We have a tendency, for the same reason that Gracie just shared, oh, well, this poor guy works at Subway, or this poor gal's working security at Walmart. We have a tendency to go, boy, we could really help them out a lot by giving them this opportunity, because they're their income and their stature and their title is so low that even this would be better for them. Which is fine. I mean, you heard Paul Hart's story. You heard Juan Jaime's story. There's plenty of people that have started at places like that and done incredible things here. But like I've said before, this is my belief, if this is the finish line, let's say this is the $100,000 finish line, then there's $250,000, then there's $500,000, whatever, right? But let's say this is the $100,000 finishing line, getting someone to there. When I started here, I was pretty much starting here. With my people skills, my leadership skill, I had a lot of different skills that applied, and my self-identity, my self-confidence, my self-worth was strong enough that it didn't take me that much to get there. For some other people, they're starting places here. Doesn't make them a bad person. I just had more life experiences, I had more life skill, and I had worked harder on myself. For some people, they're starting here, so it takes them a long time just to get to where I was when I started, and then they still have to. Does that make sense? So anybody, the cool thing about us is anybody can get there. But I want to talk to you like you're a business owner, like you own a company right now, which you do. If you own a company, which employees do you want to be hiring? Obviously, you want, I mean, for my company, Jim Maloney. Here's the truth of the matter. I was a senior, so like, how long was I even here before? Like, when did you start? Do you remember what your start date was? Of what year? March 30th of 2000, and I started roughly February of 99. I got, I think, my first check in August of 99, because the licensing process and getting me appointed to it. So I wasn't even here a year when I recruited Jim, but here's the fact of the matter. Jim was a really professional guy with good skills, good job, and the same, but the reason I interviewed him 3 times, because I was nervous as hell. I was afraid to close. I was afraid if I closed, I might lose him. And Jim's, like, I'm overly animated, and Jim's more like my oldest son Alex. He's reserved. You know, he just doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. He's very steady, which is a great quality of leadership. So, but as a result, like, I was having troubles reading Jim. Is he interested? Is he not? How interested? Right? And I was afraid to close and leave. But I just kept inviting him to come back, and he kept saying yes. I was like, okay, well, I don't know what we'll do next time, but we got him come back another time, right? But even at that early stage, when I was still nervous about things, I wanted somebody as talented, as strong, as dependable, as loyal, as skilled as Jim working with me in my company. I wanted a Nikki Cannon who had a master's from USC. I couldn't get into USC undergrad. She had a master. I'm like, oh God, like she would play a great role in my company, right? I was looking for people that could play big roles. I wasn't looking for entry-level positions that I had to teach them how to get to there. You have to look at yourself from a recruiting perspective. That you're on a hunt, you're on a search for talent. Raw talent is great, but refined talent will build your company quicker, much quicker, and with less frustration. Like, do you know how easy it was to get Jim independent of me? I barely knew what I was doing, and he had all these years of experience, and so like, it was like, he was up and running quick. Real quickly, he watched me like, once he goes, crap, I think I can do it better than him. Like the first time I said that wasn't like an insult, like he had that much self-confidence. A little bit of an insult, but he had a lot of self-confidence, right? I wasn't horrible, but like he just knew like, oh, I can do this. I didn't have to like convince him that he could do it, and convince him to prospect, and convince him that he was good enough to go on an appointment. Like he knew those things about himself. Does that make sense? So when we say prospect up, look for successful people and know that 4 out of 5 of them are open. That doesn't mean this is going to be the perfect fit for me. It was for me. It was for Jim. It was for Nikki. It was for a whole bunch of other people that have been successful, right? So you just don't know unless you ask. But from a company standpoint, just think about it. You run this company. What do you want your company to look like? Like, me and my oldest son Alex just went out to see Etowanda play St. John de Bosco last night, CIF basketball. Like,
Oh, I don't wonder.
Etowanda crushed them by like 30. It was close in the first half, and then Etowanda just had way more talent. St. John de Bosco's got a great coach. He's been a great coach for a long time. It didn't matter that he was a great coach. Etowanda had way more talent than him. Your leadership skills, your coaching skills are magnified when you have more talent on your team. The less talent you have you can have really good human beings, really good people on your team, but if they're not farther in the process, it's really going to cause you to question how good of a leader I am, how good of a trainer or coach am I, how long does this really take? Is it really possible to build a big team? And it's just, you're just looking at it from you're not looking at it from the context of the St. John de Bosco coach. It would be like my 13-year-old son, his team showed up and St. John de Bosco coach has them versus Etowanda. And it's like, I don't know if I'm a good coach. How long is it going to take for us to win a championship here? This seems so hard. Well, you just don't have the right players on the team. Like the players that you have, my son, Jack, they're 13 years old. Now, 3, 4, 5 years from now, you might have a really good team with these kids because they're really talented, but they're super young. it's gonna take 3 or 4 or 5 years for you to develop to have a shot at beating Etiwanda. Where Etiwanda's gonna go out and reload next year with more kids that are already 17 and 18 and really highly skilled. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You don't want to put yourself in a position as the owner where you're St. John de Bosco's coach and you got a bunch of 13-year-olds and it's going to take you 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Here's the worst part of it. You know how I say like the master craftsman sees things that a novice doesn't see? You look at the unskilled players that need 3, 4, 5, 6 years of development, and you think they look just as good as the Etiwanda players. Because you see the potential in them. They're good people, and they've got real reasons, and they got a big why, and they really need this to work, and they've got so much potential. I just need to help them see the potential. But the 13-year-olds, they've got potential. It's just going to take 5 years to get it up. So then you begin to feel defeated and disillusioned and doubtful when, like, after 3 months or 6 months or a year, it's like it's still not happening. But it shouldn't be happening. It would be premature for it to be happening. Okay, so recruiting up, prospecting up. Here's the thing: it's just as easy to get the names of 4 people making 60 grand, 80 grand, 100 grand, 120 grand, as it is to get 4 people that are making 20 or 30 grand. It's just as easy. It takes just as much time. But you should be intentional about it. Okay. I'm not saying avoid the small, the lower. I'm just saying pay attention. Look, like when you walk into a Starbucks, like if Sam is prospecting at Starbucks, I'd survey the whole place and go, who's the person in here that looks like I'd want to have on my team the most? Not which one would be the easiest. Imagine if you choose mates that way. Which one would be the easiest to get a date with?
Every day.
As opposed to which one would be the best partner for me long term. Right? Man, it's going to be a long night for you, dog. That is the longest drive home.
Make it interesting.
It's like in many areas of your life, you don't want to choose the easiest, you want to choose the best. And life will give you whatever you ask of it. Okay? So who else? Feedback from the last man standing contest. Things you've learned about yourself, good or bad.
You said it a second ago, you have to be very intentional, and I've just learned that you're happier when it's working.
Yeah.
You're happier, you feel it. And you probably look at that.
I would say this, and I said it last week. Whether you get the name or number or not, whether you get the result or not, don't attach your happiness to I got the result. Enjoy the process of getting to meet and know new people. Imagine, like Jim was saying earlier, it was very kind of it. Imagine if he and I had never met. Like, my life has been richer for over 20 years because of Jim Maloney's been in it. Not just because I've override him in some sort of like archaic, crass, cold business sense. It's richer because Jim's helped me to learn things about myself. He's taught me things that I wouldn't have known without him. The same with Nikki, the same with Lori, the same with Stephen Carroll. Like, I've grown as a result of these relationships. And so when you're prospecting, I believe it causes you to have a richer life by meeting new people and getting a chance to engage it. And you never know which relationships are going to take off. Shoot, even after the 3rd interview, I still didn't know, like, it was like he was actually going to say yes, and then who knows, he would have been here 20 years. When I first met my wife, I didn't know that she would change the course of my life forever, but imagine had I never met her. And so that's the same when you're out prospecting. Don't put so much pressure on yourself that it's about the result, because when you get too focused on the results, it takes away the joy of what you're doing. Right? It was like Sean was talking about earlier, like, he said it takes a lot less effort than I thought. And I said, would it be fair? Are you ready yet? Is it fair to say it's almost natural? Of course it's natural, because we've been doing our whole life saying hello to people and good morning and how are you and whatever. It's just continuing those conversations with people. That becomes very, very natural. And to me, that's where life begins to expand and open up for you. Not just in an override sense, but in the same sense. Let's take the money out of it. If you walk into Walmart or Starbucks or the church parking lot or wherever you happen to be tonight, tomorrow, right? And you're looking around, who's the person that you're most curious about building a relationship with? Who's the one that you go, man, they look like they're sharp, they look like the kind of person I'd like to have more of these kinds of people or these kinds of couples in my life. Right? As opposed to, oh, I feel so sorry for that one. Let me see if I can help it. Let me see if I can help this one, and right? Like, it's like going to the pound and picking like the runt, right? Oh, let me go, right? Versus, that looks like the lead dog in the litter. That looks like the alpha male. That looks like, that looks like the one. I want the best puppy from the litter, right? When you're choosing your friends, like we've talked a lot about associations, don't you want to choose the ones that you think are going to challenge you, that are going to change you, the ones that you're most interested in sort of building a relationship with? Think about that when you're prospecting, not whether or not they need an opportunity. Think like, oh, does that look like the kind of person I'd like to have a 20-year relationship with? Right? And that'll change the way you're looking at things. Other feedback. Good, bad, and different. Michelle.
So, I've been doing a lot of events this whole week,
Right?
and so I just challenged myself just to talk to people, not thinking like more prospecting, but just actually
Good.
just getting
Excellent.
to know people. So asking them more questions about themselves to eventually get to where it's natural for me to ask for like, hey, let's connect. We never know, it can hurt, help us both in our businesses. There's actually a guy who came to me and he asked me, he wanted strawberry powder. And I'm like, strawberry powder, like, that's not in the vitamin department. But
Total
I decided
pickup line.
to follow him
I can tell you how many times I used to use that one in the day.
So I decided to follow him in the grocery store to go look for it with him and just start asking him. So like, why are you looking for strawberry powder? He was making desserts for Valentine's. And he wanted to crush it up and put it on the desserts. So I decided, so are you a sous chef? Do you own your own restaurant? Or, just ask him. And he's like, oh, no, I'm going to work at this new restaurant. Oh, what's the name of that restaurant? And then this, oh, what's your side business? Oh, you're selling beignets? Like, what are you doing? Like, oh, so you're a businessman and stuff. So I said, oh, okay, hey, let's exchange numbers. So I always go by, okay, like, let me get your contact. I'll message you my info. So then you have my name, my full name, and my number also. So you won't be weird, like I'm only asking for their number.
Right.
But at every event, I'm always thinking, I don't know who I'm going to connect with, but there is someone here. I'm going to get one or two names and numbers that I'm going to enter in. So it actually helped me to be a little more consistent than I've been in actually getting numbers and putting in BSC Pro. But that was my way of like, okay, let me just start talking to people, finding what do I have in common with them, or having more interests in them, to eventually, it's natural, I just ask for their numbers, like, hey, let's keep in touch, let's connect, and then I'll make myself a note, like, okay, text them and say, oh, how was their test, or how was this, or, oh, how did that recommendation that I did for your son for his hair supplement, how did it go, is it working for him? So it gives me a reason to, reach out back to him, so I make notes so that I don't forget, because I'm like, I meet so many people, but making like really detailed notes about what did we talk about. And so that's made it more consistent that every day I'm getting like one or two numbers every day, and it doesn't seem like work.
Right. Because you're just increasing the number of people you're talking to.
Yes.
And then the right ones you're picking from that to go, oh, let's get a name and number, and sort of move the process forward. But it doesn't have to be everyone, and there's no sense of loss on the ones that you didn't get a name and number from. The more people you're talking to, you're able to filter and go, ooh, this one's entrepreneurial, ooh, this one's looking for more money, ooh, this one is whatever, and then you sort of filter those forward. That's excellent. Give it up for Michelle. When we were at area-wide this past week, or a week ago, one of the young ladies who got recognized, she said, and she's a really good prospector, she said she'll walk into a place like Michelle, like an event or Starbucks or Target or whatever, and just go, God, please help me to find the 5 people, or please help me to find the 10 people that need my help today. And so that's her intention. She already knows, like, we already know there's people here that need our help. Help me to find them. Help me to find them. You know who needs my help. Help me to find them. You know I'm gonna, right, help them and do it in an honorable way. Help us to connect. That prayer, that intention, it just gets you moved, like, all of a sudden now you're looking to like, I know there's people here that need my help. Let me sort of figure out let me see if I can figure out who they are. Put you in a great, great space. All right, I want to transition in a couple minutes, but a couple other things that we're doing. So, last man standing. By the way, can I just tell you two things on this before I sort of move on to the next thing? Let's say you got knocked out and got knocked out of your grace period. You gonna wait till we run last man standing again next year?
No.
that would be sort of silly, right? It's like, the idea is okay, I dropped the ball, I gotta get started building this habit tomorrow. Because, by the way, who needs this habit? Yeah. We all do, and one of the things that we talked about when building habits, it's okay to miss a day.
Just don't miss 2.
Just don't miss 2. Never miss twice. Don't miss 2 in a row. Right? So give yourself grace. You missed a day, but get right back on the horse. I didn't prospect today. I didn't make calls today. I didn't whatever today. Okay, that's okay. Let's get back on the horse, right? Tomorrow I'm going to. Tomorrow, right? And make sure you don't miss 2 days in a row. And here's the thing. I was telling Grace, because Gracie, I don't know why, like today in my head, I was in here talking to Louie or somebody earlier, and I was calling you Grace too. I was like, what was that? I don't know where that
I
came
don't think you
from.
called me Gracie.
Huh?
I don't think you called me Gracie.
No, but I was referring to Gracie, and I said Grace. I thought it was you I was talking to.
Yeah, I said Grace. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did say that.
I go by Grace.
It just this weird thing today. I think it's part of this calorie thing today. But she was sharing with me like all the momentum and how she's gotten better and it's gotten easier and her beliefs are going up and her confidence is going up. I go, can I share with you? I said, I don't want to create an obstacle, but I want to share a level of awareness with you. She said, sure, what? What did I tell you?
Oh God, when you put me on the spot, I get nervous. All reality, that, you said several things.
You want me to help you?
Yes, please.
Phone a friend.
Huh?
Phone a friend. I'd like to phone my friend Christopher. Right? What's that show? Here's what I said. Like she's built up where she's prospecting every day for weeks now, right? I said, just be aware of this. You miss a couple of days, it's gonna feel the same way it felt 3 weeks ago when you were just getting started. I was telling Louie, I was like, Warner was like a beast, cranking out phones, cranking out on the like every day, hitting it so hard. He missed like 2 or 3 days, and I came up and I go, "What's going on?" He came back in my office. He's like,
I called you.
I'm terrified of making a call. Like 3 days ago, he made like 80 calls, but like 3 days ago, my aunt made 8 calls. He was like hyperventilating. Like I'm like, take a deep breath, bro. It's gonna be. But like literally, when we fall out of the habit, all of a sudden, it's like all of this stuff comes back in our head. So be aware of that. Now the cool thing is once he picked up the phone and started making calls, or once you miss a couple of days and you get back into it, you pick right up where you left off. So from a skill set and a flow and all that, you pick right up where you left off. But mentally, we start building this barrier bigger and bigger and bigger, like, I don't know if I can do it again. I forget how. Something was going on that made it easy back then. That's lower, and you just make this huge barrier. So just be aware of that. It's part of the reason you want to keep working on the habit of just sort of staying in it every day, even if it's just one new name and number a day. Just to keep yourself in that rhythm so it never gets to that part where it's hard mentally to get into. Does that make sense? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so last man standing. We also have the Sprint Award. We also have the Fast Start Award. We also have the requalifying for your existing promotions. Sprint Award, Fast Start Award, requalifying for your promotions. Any feedback on any of those? Things you've learned, things you're learning, Warner?
Yeah, I think mainly getting your competitive juices going. I enjoy competition. Nothing better than having someone who thinks they're better than you try to call you out. And I took the match when I called out several MDs from different hierarchies, and we're running. I shared it with you.
Yeah.
What is it okay if I can share? I'm running 337s with a wage weekly with MDs, and I chose MDs in specific because MDs have pipelines, larger pipelines than me, and I chose these specific MDs because you always call them in particular as sleeping bears. So I was like, why not poke the bear, and I'll grow in the process as well. And so it's belief system is so much higher because now you're people that, yeah, they're at a different contract level, but you know what your capacity is, and you're now expanding into that. And now when there's money on the line and competing, and I'm going for my promotion, I'm like, dude, might as well just hit for everything.
It's a fire under your butt.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's a fire under your butt. It's like, I don't wanna have to pay this every week. I
Yeah.
don't wanna be the loser even if there was no monetary, you don't wanna be the loser. Like, you call these guys out and all of a sudden, they're beating you week in, week out, it's like, what's the point of doing it, right? So there's that kind of pressure as well, just sort of that personal pride factor as well. Anybody else from the sprint award, the fast award, or re-qualifying for your promotion? Can I speak to it? Can I give you guys some feedback? I got a funny, I'm not sure who it is, I got a funny feeling that there's one person in here, maybe two people in here who committed to re-qualifying for their promotion, who really haven't been paying any attention to that since they haven't been tracking it. They don't have any kind of place where they're tracking it in their planner, in their desk, anywhere. They said they were gonna do it, and then they almost forgot about it until I just brought it up. I don't know who that one person is, but I got a funny feeling that someone here sort of experienced that. If you think you might know who that person is, raise your hand. Me too. What's the lesson in that? Pay attention to details, okay? Has to be in the forefront of your mind.
Steve and I listened to Ed's podcast with Nikki Johnson all
Uh-huh.
the way in today, early in February, listen to it. One of the things.
Steve, a big Yankee guy?
No. You'll have to find out about it. It was a great podcast, and this is one thing he said. In the heat of the moment, compassion, commit to something. That's great, everybody's in a group. When you're alone and you're in the trenches working, we still have the same commitment.
Yeah, it is. Can I still mark it? So, just real quick, this is not bad or good, right or wrong, anything like that. I just want to call it to your attention. So, you say, I'm gonna hit the sprint award, I'm gonna hit the fast start award, I'm gonna win the last man standing, I'm gonna re-qualify for my promotion, whatever it is, right? I'm gonna do it. There's the target, right? And then we go back to our daily life. We don't see the target, we're not looking at the target, we're not paying attention to the target, we're not focused on the target, until somebody goes, oh yeah, remember the target, remember the contest, remember the ring, remember you wanting to retire your mom, remember you wanting to retire your spouse, put your kid through college, remember you wanted to pay off that debt, remember you wanted to leave your job and go in full time? Oh yeah, I definitely want that. And then we go back to life. So it's like David said, it's like Silton said, part of not being a goal setter but a goal achiever is whatever works for you, and it may be different than what works for you, you've got to put that target in front of yourself every day, multiple times a day, to remind yourself of, what am I running towards? What am I doing this for? What am I aiming at? Where am I trying to get to? Because in the absence of that, we get caught up into routine and habit and just sort of go through the motions and completely forget, and then it's like, God, I've been in WFG for 3 years and I still don't have my ring. Well, yeah, because the ring was something that, like, every once in a while you go, yeah, I'd love to have the ring here and be independent and run my own business, and then it just goes away and you just go back, and then you come to a meeting and then you go, oh yeah, and then you go back home. It's like, whatever works for you. What works for me is the goal setting system that I share with you guys with the vision board, and then the monthly goals written on the vision board, and then my specific goals that I read through every day. And those goals can be amended, but right now I'm still in the thick of the first quarter goals. I'm still in the thick of my February goals, and that's why I wanted to talk to you about, because I didn't think they're on my mind, mine are. But it doesn't matter how much I think about mine, you have to develop your own system where it's mindful for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is it just hot in here, or am I really upsetting you guys? It's hot. Yes.
One thing you mentioned about putting it on your phone and people
Yes.
phone everything.
Can I borrow that?
Yeah.
So, this is good, so like, Fortune has it like as a screensaver, right? This is good, but if we're not careful, it can be bad, because it becomes,
Comment.
yeah, it becomes just like background noise. Like, you ever have like a bunch of post-it notes of really important things around your computer monitor, and then you like, you know they're there, but you don't even really look at them? On this, here's what I do every morning. I take each picture and I magnify it and look at one picture. And then I go to the next one and magnify it, and I allow myself enough time to spend in that picture where I start getting excited just about that picture. And then I move to the next picture and I zoom in and I get excited about that one. Then I move to the next one and I zoom in and get excited about that one. And then I zoom out after I've done it with all of them and look at all of them together, and I'm in this peak state. I'm fully associated with what am I doing, why am I doing this for, what am I going for? And then from there I start getting into my goals. What are my goals for the, right? What are my big three? What's my word of the year? What's my verse of the year? What are my big three? What are my quarterly outcomes, right? What are my specific key strategies and tactics that I'm working on? What are my affirmations? And I go through those after I've just put myself in a peak state. But if it's only a screensaver's great, but if it's only a screensaver and I don't take the time to fully associate, then it's just background noise. It's just a different form of background noise. I've got to feel different. I've got to feel different at an emotional level. You know what it feels like when you're excited about something? I've got it as screensavers for me too, but rarely does my screensaver get me excited even though it's the exact same images, because I don't put my energy into the screensaver. Right? Occasionally, when I know I'm going a little bit sideways during the day, I'll catch my screensaver and I'll go, and I'll put my energy into it, and then what I usually do is go put it aside and grab my iPad, and right? Because I just know, like, I need a boost, right? I need a little, instead of a shot of espresso, I need a little shot of the Futuro, right? Oh yeah, boom, let's go, okay? So, we're halfway through the month, halfway through the quarter. Let's not finish February, and then before you know it, March 31st is here, and we've spent 3 months of going to meetings and learning lots of great stuff, but not really receiving it, not really putting it into action. Now some of you are, I can tell by all the comments coming out, like some of you are really learning and growing, because we spent probably 4 weeks talking about building new habits and what gets in the way of building habits and why are habits so important. It goes into all this stuff we're talking about. And what some of you are finding out through the Last Man contest is like, one a day is easy, but it's also easy not to do, and like I'm struggling just building this simple habit here. But that's okay as long as you go, I'm still going to build the habit. And you just start putting, and like I said from the very beginning, the challenge with creating new habits is it takes more of our time and more of our emotional energy to build them in the beginning than it should, and which takes away time and energy from other things that we are used to doing. But then once they become truly a habit, then they're autopilot. They require almost no time and energy. We just automatically do it. Where you just automatically pick up names and numbers as you go. You just automatically connect with people. You just automatically jump into the gym every day and exercise. You just automatically drink your water. You just automatically spend time in scripture or in your business plan or in your goals like that. It's become a habit of yours. You just do it every day. It's like you can't imagine not doing it. It's just part of who you are. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, give it up for Kritzia. Yeah, Warner, you had something to add?
I was giving it up for Christopher.
Oh, okay, good. Shout out for Chris. So I got some really good stuff here. I'm gonna crank through because I won't be here Saturday to finish it, so I'm gonna finish it right now. This is not related to prospecting, but it sort of is. Because what this is really related to is what we've already talked about today. It's the blockages that we create. I'm going to primarily use money as how we create blockages related to our thinking about money, but it's true in our relationships, it's true in our health, it's true in our business, So I want to share with you a story real quick just to get started. Pull this up. Boom. All right. Welcome to the illusion. Imagine if Michael Jordan, at the height of his legendary basketball career, so he had just won 3 championships, but we all know he's got how many more to win? 3 more, right? So he's at the height, right, of his legendary career. Imagine if right then, after the 3rd championship, he got amnesia and completely forgot who he was. Completely forgot. After coming to, he struggles to get a day job, finds a mediocre relationship, starts watching a lot of TV, and gets used to living an ordinary, unfulfilling life. In this alternate reality, he's now walking around thinking he's just an average guy and trying to figure out how to make ends meet while getting more and more unhappy with his life. If you met him, you'd probably be obsessed with trying to help him remember that he's one of the greatest basketball players who ever lived. Most people think the greatest of him. You'd be doing everything in your power to get him on the court so he could realize how amazing he actually is. But imagine him completely believing and defending that he's just an ordinary guy. And explaining to you that he has bills to pay and he can't just spend his time chasing some dream of playing basketball all day. You'd be going crazy listening to him complain about how hard it is to get by because you know about the hundreds of millions of dollars and the total fulfillment in his life he's missing out on by not trusting that he has this insane talent and value that he could bring to the world. Every time you'd go to the Applebee's that he works at now, you'd be trying to convince him to leave and do this thing you know he's amazing at. But he would remind you about how if he stays there another 2 years, they'll make him an assistant manager. And that he needs that kind of security in his life. You're sitting there trying to show him who he actually is because he has no idea. And he's angrily defending this new small life because he can't see what's beyond it from his limited perspective. This is the reality for most people. Every single one of us has genius inside of us, has brilliance inside of us, has something so unique and special inside of us, something so extraordinary that when we use it in the service of others, when we bring it out to the world, we create so much value in the world, so much value in the marketplace, we create so much value in people's lives that the world chases us down with reckless abundance. Except for that story that we keep telling ourselves that we're not that special, and we're not that extraordinary, we're not that brilliant, we're just a regular guy or just a regular gal, or you don't understand how I was brought up, or you don't understand what happened to me when I was young, or you don't understand like this or that about my life. And I can't do that because I've got to pay bills and I've got to do this, and we keep telling ourselves these stories over and over, defending the life that we're living that keep us from receiving the life that we're intended to receive. Because we're afraid if we really like play full out, if we really just give of ourselves and use our gifts and use our talents in the service of others and don't pay attention to whether or not we're getting a result or not, don't pay attention to whether or not we're getting compensated or not, don't pay attention to whether or not we're getting extra credit or overtime or anything of that nature. We're so afraid that somehow we're going to be taken advantage of, or we're not going to have enough, or we're not going to be appreciated, or it's not going to work out. We're so afraid of losing that we never really play to win. that Michael Jordan story is really a truth inside of each and every one of us. Every voice in your head that tells you that you're anything other than that, other than genius, other than brilliant, other than extraordinary, is a complete lie. And it's a lie that you've been told by the world that has made you forget what you actually are. After working with thousands and thousands of people from all over the planet, I've come to learn that every single person has the exact same level of unique brilliance in them. We all just access it in different amounts. Just like I was talking about earlier, like we go out during the rainstorm, some of us have a little cap from the top of a bottle of water, some of us have a cup, some of us have a bucket, some of us have a trash can, some of us have a 55-gallon drum, and then others, the Michael Jordans, the Oprahs, the game, like they show up with silos and silos and silos. The sky brings down rain equally on all of us, but we don't all receive it in the same amounts. And so, part of us receiving it is to understand that our best self is outside of these stories that we tell ourselves. How much we're accessing our brilliance depends only on how much we're attached to the limited story that cuts us off from it. If you could find a way for just 1 second to let go of your limited story that is telling you you're not a genius, boom, your geniusness would show up instantly. Oh. See, I have this thing. Some of you are beginning to discover that just with the little exercise that we had called Last Man Standing. That we've got thoughts that are making this far more difficult than it actually is. We've got thoughts that are holding us back. We've got thoughts that are telling us that we're not ready, or there's more that I have to do, or I'm just not there yet, or I still need to learn more. We've got thoughts of unworthiness, that I'm not yet worthy, that aren't based on anything real. They're just thoughts that we've created, and then some weird way we get addicted to the notion that the thought is real. We've talked about this before. There's certain emotions that even if they're not good emotions, there's certain thoughts and experiences that we have that even if they're not good, we get addicted to because we get comfortable with them. We get super comfortable with them. You guys mind if I share another minute or two while we're breaking?
Is it no?
You sure?
Is it a?
What if we are starting to understand that believing we need any specific result is just a remnant of an old paradigm that thinks the results are more important than us? Can you say that again? Yes, because it's written down.
Yeah.
All I have to do is read it. It's awesome.
It's really good.
Well, if I thought that thing up, I probably couldn't say that eloquently, right? What if we are starting to understand that believing we need any specific result is just a remnant of an old paradigm that thinks that results are more important than us? The results aren't magic. We are. We're the magic. Not the big check, not the prospect I got, not the sale I made. We're the magic, not the result. The result is a byproduct of our magic. We're the source of any result that comes into our life, so we can stop falling in love with the results and start falling in love with ourselves, the creator of the results. You're welcome. Huh? It seems as if 99% of our creative energy has been spent trying to hold together this illusion of limitations and unworthiness. The moment we stop trying to hold it all together, we unlock an entirely new dimension of abilities and freedoms. You ever have somebody sit down and go, how's it going? Oh man, I'm just trying to hold it all together. What the hell are you trying to hold together? Like really, what are you trying to hold together? I'm just trying to hold it all together. That, like, literally, that's just something they've constructed in their mind. There's nothing you're trying to hold together. Right? What you think about this is probably a good place to end. An architect can't build a brand new hotel right on top of an existing old he or she needs to demolish the old one, completely clear it out of the way, and prepare the ground for a new one. What if all it takes is to let the plates fall and give yourself the space to discover the worthiness and freedom that you actually are? What does he mean by that? What if it's okay to let go of this story you've been telling yourself of, I'm not ready, I don't deserve it, I'm not worthy, I'm not sure I can do it, I'm not sure I'm good enough, I don't think I'm ready for this kind of a client, I don't think I'm ready for this kind of a relationship, I don't think I'm ready for, right? What if we stop defending that story about ourselves? What if we just let it go and take this vulnerable, transparent journey into seeing what happens to me if I let go of that story? What if all it takes is to let the plates fall and give yourself the space to discover the worthiness and freedom that you actually are? In that space, new aligned circumstances will start to show up in your life because they're no longer being blocked with a mental illusion of your own limitation. Better than I thought I was, right? It's less effort than I thought. Those individuals were being blocked with mental illusions of their own limitations. They weren't real limitations, they were mental illusions that they created that created a false limitation for them. Very real for them in the moment, but they were made up of air in their head. For example, think of how much each day you spend thinking of things that you can't control. Like what a politician said, what someone said about you, something you have to do later, what your parents think about you, what a sports team did, what's going to happen in the future, or what happened in the past. How much of your day do you spend thinking about those kinds of things? Every single one of those is something you can't control. Can you control what a politician says? Can you control the outcome of a team you're not on? Can you control what your parents think about you? What some prospect thinks about you? You can't control any of these things. Can you control what's going to happen in the future or what happened already in the past? The only thing you can control is the present moment. And yet we spend so much of our day thinking about all of these things, and then our emotions get all like this over stuff that we can't control anyway. When you finally release the things you can't control and allow yourself to not be consumed with pointless worrying, what do you think that will make space for inside of you? A whole bunch of creativity and abundance. A whole bunch of space for your gifts to come up and flourish. You're holding them down. I read a book once that was talking about the same topic, and he described it's almost like you've got all these balloons filled with air, and we spend all of this energy trying to, we're wading in the water, we spend all this energy trying to keep the balloons beneath the water. And it's like physically and emotionally taxing, trying to keep all the balloons, then that's our story. And then all of a sudden you just sort of let go of the balloons, and you're like, oh, this is effortless. This is way easier. I was expending all this energy trying to control these things I couldn't really control. I'll finish with this. This is about living fully. It's about transcending old beliefs that say things need to be a certain way. It's about receiving infinite, abundant ideas and learning to act the second you feel that excited feeling. It's about making huge leaps without having all the answers. It's about making what kind of leaps?
Huge leaps.
Without having what?
All the answers.
And discovering that those callings are your true guidance system. Those callings are what?
Your true guidance system.
That has been waiting patiently for you to put down your phone and listen. This space of possibility is waiting for us to co-create with it. It wants to move forward in a way that is more vertical than linear. It wants to make each day exponentially better than the day before. It wants to change channels. It wants to change paradigms. It wants to destroy your old small story. It wants to give you the world, but first it needs you to divorce your old, lifelong, habitual obsession with results. All right, let's call that a wrap. I'll miss you guys Saturday, but I'll be here in spirit. Last man standing. I don't care if it's been 3 weeks since you got a prospect. Start it tomorrow. Not for the contest, for yourself. I don't care how long it's been since you looked at your e-board. Look at it tonight before you go to bed, and take time to look at each picture and fully associate. I don't care how long it's been since you looked at your goals, revisit them tonight for a couple of minutes, figure out where I'm at, and no matter where you're at, it's not too late, you're not too far away. You just haven't been paying attention. All we want you to do tonight is just take a look again. Just remind yourself, what am I doing this for? What do I want my subconscious working on tonight while I sleep? Tomorrow morning, what do I want to look at and remind myself that tomorrow, what is it a commitment to do? Where am I going to spend my time and my energy tomorrow? Moving closer towards what? Closer towards this. Why? Because this is the direction I choose to move, not that somebody else is choosing for me. Give yourself that gift tonight of just getting reacquainted with those things. Give yourself the gift of getting your own last man standing started. Because it's not about who wins the contest.
Not about the results.
It's really about like who you're becoming in the process. And that doesn't have a start time or an end time. It doesn't have like a medal attached to it. It's about you becoming the person that you're capable of, creating all these new friendships and contributing to the world your gifts, your talents that have been given to you. You being a great steward of those things. Use this as a platform, as a workshop, as a vehicle